Hey everybody, Adam Rakusin here from 10 News. Today we are talking rentals, home buying, and how do you do that? You need the perfect credit score to make sure you can get into one of those. I'm joined by Frank Kriticos from San Diego Credit Solutions. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
This is part of a story series that we're doing, Making It in San Diego. Prep your credit for rental competition. It's a problem that I found myself in, and I figured a lot of other people might be dealing with the same thing, and we want to hear your questions. We have an expert here that can talk credit, so if you have a question about your credit, write it down on Facebook Live. We'll take the question. So Frank, I guess the first question we should ask is, what is a credit score?
A credit score is a number that we are judged on from all the banking institutions out there. So FICO, which is Fair Isaac Company, they are a third-party non-biased company that gives us a score based on the data from the credit bureaus. And then that score is determined to basically everything that has an interest rate connected to it. That's what we're judged on.
What do you want your credit score at? What's a good credit score?
Okay, so good is very broad.
700.
I will say this: a 740 plus is really the top tier. Okay, so generally speaking, when I speak to people and I tell them if you're a 740 plus, that's where you get all the advertised rates. Okay. So let's use a car loan, for example. We can all relate to that.
Sure.
So 0% financing for 60, 72 months, they're really looking for 740 plus. Okay. So that's a top tier category. There is no bonus for 800. Everybody asks me that. 740, 800, it's in the same bucket. I would say quote unquote good is probably upper 600s to the 740 mark, so maybe 675 to 740. And of course, different lenders have different versions of what good is.
Now, a lot of what we're looking at is the rental market here in San Diego. The housing market is difficult, but as we've learned, the rental market has become just as difficult as the housing market, and so much of it relies on your credit score. How can it impact, the credit score impact whether or not you rent a place, and what in your dealings have people told you that they're looking for?
Well, I've spoken to many property management companies because I get this question asked all the time. So I have to go to the source and then work backwards based from there. Okay. So basically, the obvious one is no evictions. Okay. So that's going to be an issue. Now, if you did have a prior lease that you did break, most likely that's going to show as a collection in the credit report. You have to get it resolved. Okay. Credit repair is pretty misleading, okay? So it's not a scenario where you just send in a dispute letter and it's going to vanish. That's just not the reality. The reality is if that is your situation, that'll be an automatic denial, of course, right? So you have to get in contact with the original apartment complex, work out a deal. Even if you settle it for less than what's owed, that'll result in a zero balance, which is key. Okay. So that's the first step you really have to look for.
What are property managers looking for? I mean, do they have a certain score that they're looking for? Is score really everything when it comes to this?
It's not everything.
Okay.
Depending on if you're talking to a property management company that's more corporate versus the private landlord.
Sure.
So the private landlord, they're more stuck on the number. You know, what's my credit score? What's my credit score? Generally speaking, 700 plus, and you're good to go. As far as property management companies, they're a little bit more forgiving. I would say that the low to mid 600s, and you're okay. It's just you have to make sure again there's no evictions, and if there were in the past, that they've been rectified.
And we know it's tough to try to make it here in San Diego. That's why Frank is answering questions. This is Frank Kriticos from San Diego Credit Solutions. If you have a question for him, feel free, put it on Facebook. We've got people monitoring the questions right now that can chime in and ask if you've got something. One of the things that in looking through this story that I found is negative factors versus the credit score. So what is, the term negative factors keeps coming up. Is that what really matters in the end of this?
Sure. Well, the negative factor, the number one most important thing is payment history. But what does that really mean? So late payments, 30-day late payments, an absolute crusher to your credit score. Let me give you an example. Obviously, I have good credit, so 750 score. If I just forget to make a $10 minimum payment on a credit card and I get a 30-day late, 100 points right off the top.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous, okay? So FICO doesn't go based on the dollar amount. A 30-day late is a 30-day late. Obviously, if you were late on a mortgage, that's $3,000 a month. That would be more damaging in a financial world, but what makes sense in the financial world doesn't always translate to the world of credit, and that's really important to know.
Okay.
So that's the number one thing, late payments. If you have any accounts that you haven't paid in a while, you have to bring it current first. because all it takes is one account to be delinquent every single month, and that'll keep your score at a very, very low score regardless of what else is happening.
So if you're paying your bills on time, that's a pretty good thing to be able to at least keep your credit score where it is, if not increase it. How about total credit? So I've got a car loan, I've got a mortgage payment, I've got student loans, I've got $5,000 on a credit card. All that added up, can that impact your score, and is there a way to work with that?
So FICO likes to see a healthy balance profile, and that's the tricky part. That's what's literally taken me years to figure out. So they like to see 2 to 5 credit cards is ideal. Now, if you have 15 credit cards and you have a good score, there's no need to close them all to bring it down to 5. Okay, so generally speaking, 2 to 5 cards. If you have an auto loan or any installment loan, so an installment loan is going to be any loan that has set terms, like a car. This is your payment, this is your interest rate, and for this many months. So just a healthy balance, a couple of installment loans, a couple of revolving accounts, and that's honestly all you need. It has nothing to do with the dollar amount.
Okay, remember. Interesting. Yeah. Okay, now I wrote down a couple questions. I want to make sure that I get to them. Okay, yeah, so we've already asked this one. What can the score do to your ability to rent a place? Obviously, that can impact it and hurt you there. How do you make it better? You've got to, let's just say, you're normal San Diegan. You've got debt. You've got these things. Maybe you struggled coming out of college. Your score is probably around 600 to 650, but you need to get into that upper echelon to make things happen. How do you get better?
3 steps, okay? It's really this easy. First of all, you have to stop the bleeding. So if you have any past due accounts, collection accounts, we've all been there, medical issues, lose a job, divorce, sickness. If you have accumulated any type of collections, and it doesn't matter, again, the dollar amount, it could be a $1 collection, okay? You have to stop the bleeding first, so that's where you start. You have to go get those accounts resolved, all right? That's a big part of our business. We have relationships with all the banks and credit collection agencies so that we can work out agreements, which saves our clients a lot of money. Okay, so stop the bleeding. The second one is that you have to make sure all those accounts show a zero balance. It's all about the zero balance in the column. Okay. And then just, of course, no late payments, and then you have to rebuild the profile. But all that really means, again, is just a couple of revolving accounts. Revolving accounts are credit cards. Credit cards play a big, big, big factor in our score. And it doesn't matter how high the limit is, how low the limit is, but you have to be extremely careful not to max out the credit cards. Now, again, has nothing to do with the dollar amount, has everything to do with the ratio. That's why a $300 limit credit card is extremely dangerous. If you have a family, you go to Costco, you're maxed out.
Interesting, okay.
So it has nothing to do with the dollar amount, just the ratio.
So you're saying, even if you have that $5,000 limit, don't go spend $5,000 on it?
So what I did personally, I had to get some dental work done, and the bill came out to, I think, $1,000.
Sure.
And they offered the care credit. So care credit is specific for medical needs.
Mm-hmm.
So I said absolutely not, because I know that when I walk out of there, I'm going to have a $1,000 balance, $1,000 limit. My score will go down 50 points probably.
Wow. Okay.
It's drastic. So I asked the gal, I said, I will put this on care credit if you can get me approved for $3,000. So she looked at me a little puzzled. And it got approved. So I walked out of there, instead of being 100% utilized, I was now 33% utilized.
Interesting. That's better than using all the money. See, that's something I wouldn't have thought before.
Yep.
That's really good. Okay, so you're at that point there. Okay, I know this is we had any questions yet? We're with Frank Kriticos from San Diego Credit Solutions talking credit. So if you have a question for him, we dragged him out here. Mm-hmm. So feel free to ask a question. He will answer it and help you improve your credit score. Okay, paying off all your credit cards, taking everything, you've got all that money. If you get rid of it and take the balance down to zero, is that worth it? Will that help things, or will that hurt things?
It will absolutely help a great deal.
Okay.
So there's a myth out there that you have to carry a balance every single month, and that's not true. So the reason why that myth started is because, and there's certain institutions, without naming names, that are more known for closing credit cards due to inactivity. Okay. So the idea is, if you keep a balance, then they'll keep it open, which is good, because you never want to close credit cards because of all the history.
That's always what I've been under the impression.
That's why an 18-year-old never has good credit, because they just have lack of credit.
Sure.
So so you just always want to pay it off, and once in a while, make a purchase, tank of gas, Starbucks, once every 3 to 4 months, just to make sure
Yeah.
that your card does not get closed.
Okay, so we want that. All right, looks like we do have a question. Allison.
Joshua wants to know, how do you get rentals in corporate apartments with no determinable credit?
How do you get rentals in corporate apartments with no determinable credit? That's a good question. It's been a while since that.
So I'm assuming just no credit at all, just no scores, just a blank report.
Sure.
So this is very common for people that are just coming into the country.
Okay.
We have a lot of clients. This one gentleman, he's a designer, French designer, came here, big brand, wasn't able to get any credit. So we just had to build his profile. The easiest way, and I generally don't like to suggest this, we've all heard of secured cards. You just preload the card, couple $100, and that'll get you a revolving account, which FICO takes 6 months to score. Okay, so that's important to know. So you have to plan ahead. The reason why I generally don't like to suggest secured cards is because I don't like to have to give a bank any more money than we have to. Okay, but when you have nothing else, it's not a bad way to go. But again, remember, you don't have to pay $10,000 to give yourself a $10,000 limit. $200-300 is all you have to do. Maybe get 2 of them, sit tight for 6 months, and then your score will go from 0 to roughly a 660 to 680, which will be plenty for you to get whatever it is you need.
Perfect. Another question.
Daniel wants to know, the first month rent and deposit are the same. Is it okay to ask to pay the deposit in payments?
Oh, interesting. I don't know. You know an answer to that?
Well, I think that's, I think
a little beyond the credit.
Right. I think that would be up to the property management company.
Okay.
But one thing that I wanted to mention, because we get a lot of calls when people get turned down for an apartment.
Sure.
A lot of times they're asking to pay double the amount of deposit just to get into the property.
Yeah.
So it could get expensive. So double deposit plus first month, that's a big chunk.
Yeah,
of
I
change.
do want to say some of the things that we discovered when we embarked on this journey talking about rent in San Diego was the rental market is so hot right now. There's so few homes that exactly what you're saying. We spoke with a property manager who said some people to get in, they're outbidding each other on rent. So say the rent is $2,500, people are saying I'll give you $2,600 a month to knock everybody else out right now. People are putting double the deposit down because they're showing the landlords that they're more serious. They're extending the leases or shortening whatever it is.
Whatever benefits them.
Yeah, whatever benefits the owner of the property, that's what it's become. But as we figured out, all of that, you can do all of that, but if you have a bad credit score, you're not getting into the place.
That's right.
Not getting into play, which reminded me, one of the questions that we started dealing with this is applications. You have to turn in a lot of places want an application before you even see the property in San Diego.
Right.
So people are looking at your credit, running soft inquiries, running a quick hit on something. Will that impact your credit score?
So some property managers will run the report themselves. Others will request for you to bring in a copy. And when you bring in a copy, that's where you have to be careful because not all scores are the same. Okay, so we touched on Credit Karma is a big one now.
Yeah.
That's not even on a FICO scoring model. That's what's called Vantage Score. That's a totally separate scoring model. Okay, so it's okay to view your accounts, but it has, as far as the actual score, it just means nothing at all.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, those inquiries, do they keep coming up? Will they bug you in the end?
Okay, so the thing about inquiries is this. There's soft and hard, right? So soft is when any creditor pulls a report, pulls a credit report on a monthly basis, which they all do, credit card companies, just to kind of see how things are looking for us. But a hard inquiry is going to be when any institution pulls a report. So this is what FICO has changed over the years, which is good.
Yeah.
Let's use the example of shopping for a car. You go down to the mile of cars, Toyota, Ford, Honda, Acura, they all pull your credit report. As long as it's within the same industry, within a 2-week period, it's considered one hard inquiry.
Okay.
The problem is when you start going from one industry to another. So you're shopping for cars and credit cards and then mortgages, that's where inquiries become an issue.
Okay.
But as long as it's within the same industry, within a 2-week period, it just counts as one.
Got it. Frank, I wanted to get this question in because I know a lot of people have questions on this one too. Unpaid bills. So you've messed up, you weren't able to pay your bill, maybe life got in the way. There's that theory out there that if you wait 7 years, it goes away. Is that true? If things actually go away? Maybe a little.
Eventually. Have I had clients that left the country for 12 years and come back and it's
Sure.
not there? Sure. This is what's important to know. You have two time frames. Okay. You have in California 4 years, which is statute of limitations. What that means is that if your debt is older than 4 years, then you cannot be sued for it.
Okay.
Okay. And you need to know that if it's within 4 years, you could be served a summons, which is not fun. Because it's court paperwork that gets delivered.
Sure.
Now you're talking attorney fees, and we could still resolve that for you, but that's just something to be aware of. So everybody will ask me, well, it's been over 4 years, and it doesn't mean that you're not liable for the debt. It just means you can't be sued for it.
Okay.
So that's one big thing. The other thing is 7 years. Everybody always brings up 7 years as if the bureaus scrub our reports at the 7-year mark, and that's not true. As a matter of fact, unfortunately, a lot of times creditors and collection agencies will sell the debt before the time frame, and guess what? A brand new collection will pop up, which is extremely damaging. So you just have to be really careful. We're talking about an industry that doesn't always do the right thing, and they get away with it.
Be careful. What are you doing? Allison, we have another question.
Carol wants to know, what's the ideal credit score to get attention?
Oh, the ideal credit score to get attention?
Well, to get attention is there could be a couple different ways we can take that conversation.
Let's look at it from a good perspective.
But let me say this. So remember, 740 plus is prime.
Okay.
But even in the low to mid 600s, that's where you'll get more solicitations in the mail from credit card offerings. Okay. But of course, they're going to be more of the higher interest rate offers, where 740 plus you get the attention of the best of the best. So the Amex, all the frequent flyer mile, all the good perks.
Yeah.
Okay, 740 plus to get the good stuff.
And basically, if you don't have a good credit score, I mean, as sad as this is, you're doing a disservice to yourself because you're losing money.
When I have somebody in my office that's maybe in their 60s, and they have bad credit, it's hard for me to think or not think of how many years they've been paying high interest on everything they've ever owned for the past 30 years. I'd hate to tally up the numbers, but it's a big, especially auto loans. I mean, you're talking 0% as high as 24%. It's drastic.
Okay.
Drastic.
That's good to know. So we've been talking with Frank Kriticos from San Diego Credit Solutions, and shameless plug. There you are.
Oh boy.
Right there.
15 pounds ago.
Appreciate your help today. Thank you for walking San Diegans through these credit tips. Coming up tonight on 10 News at 6, I showed you this. This is kind of the preview of the story we're doing, Making It in San Diego, Prep Your Credit for Rental Competition. We're going to walk you through how to get a place. So what are the tips and tricks? Tips and tricks, there we go, from property managers. Also a little bit more on credit, what you need to know. That's coming up tonight on 10 News at 6. Also, you can hit Frank up if you have a credit question.
Absolutely.
He's got the company. He'll help you get it better. We'll see you tonight at 6.